So.
Okay. Well, as we get started with the Finance and Personnel Committee meeting, I'll turn it over to Dr. Thompson. Welcome.
Thank you.
So we'll let you go forward with the agenda.
Well, new to the seat, very obviously, so the team has been incredibly helpful in getting me acclimated and helping me get set up for my orientation, my paperwork, and all the various passwords and everything that you need to switch over from one treasurer to another. So the transition has been aided immensely by Mike and Chris and Nick and Mallory and Marlo, and the whole team has been really incredibly helpful. So in terms of how we run this, I got an overview, so I guess this is first run through. So what you have is the agenda, the PowerPoint, and then you have some attachments, and I'll just make sure we hit them. But before I do that, I'll turn it over to Mallory for the personnel updates.
Sure. So we are still working through our candidates that attended the job fair. We had about a dozen candidates apply for our non-teaching openings. Along with them and our internal candidates who are interested in making some shifts, we are down to about 6 positions that we're still finalizing interviews for, both full-time and part-time in the elementary buildings mostly. For the part-time, that's lunchroom and playground, and then full-time here we have 2 study hall monitors that we're searching for, and now another educational assistant to support kind of some staff shifts that we've had.
That's a non-certified position, study hall monitor.
Correct. The only thing that requires is the educational aid permit. They apply through the state, $25 a year.
When we shifted the OC contract, we condensed all those categories to educational aid, so all of them require the aid permit, so it gives us more flexibility. So one of the things we are doing is reducing the second secretariat John at JRW and changing it to an educational aid, because we actually need that person to monitor students. So they didn't have that aid permit, and that would be more beneficial for us, and it actually comes at a little bit of a savings as well.
Yep. So working through those, but we do have candidates that are interested, so that's the good news. We're not out there searching. Transportation, I believe, has at least one trainee who's on board and signed up, is completing training hours with our onboard instructor, so they could obtain their CDL eventually. Typically, it takes their time, so it really is dependent on their schedule and our trainer's schedule to get that done, to be able to apply for that licensure. We have another person who's also interested in doing so. So it's good to have 2 trainees coming on board for us. We have 1 operator opening right now.
And we did look at van certification and having some of our own run some van routes to some of our private providers. So we're looking at that as well.
Yep. On the teaching side of the house, we've been keeping an eye on enrollment numbers. We have made some shifts internally to fill a preschool opening that we didn't expect. That was resigned after the essential deadline for us. Shifting in that, we had a few other people move around that wanted to make a move, and so we have a long-term 2nd grade vacancy that we've posted only internally, because we do believe we have some really good candidates in our tutor positions that are strong and certified to fill that spot for the year. So that'll run here, I believe, through tomorrow, and we'll get that one moving. That's at Riverview 2nd grade.
Okay, good.
I have new hire orientation scheduled for tomorrow. This is the first group, kind of first wave of the certified staff that are coming in. We have about a dozen of them, so new teachers and new tutors, along with some of the new administrators that will be joining us tomorrow in the Media Center. It's a full day event. We kind of give them the deep dive into who Riverside is, who we are, what we do here. And then the second half of the day, they dive into all the systems that they will encounter and have to use as teachers in an instructional setting in the district. As we continue to fill our non-teaching staff, I will be meeting with them hopefully later next week, probably in this room, having a more condensed version of that orientation, but ensuring that they get the same experience and same information as they're coming on board with us.
the highlight of new teacher orientation
Bus
is
tour.
the bus tour, which is
Carabine.
emceed by our own Mr.
I'm
Nick
totally
Carabine
riding
with his
the
dad
bus this
jokes and
year.
all.
Right.
So
Ask when that was.
it's well worth it, and it's supposed to be a pretty nice day.
Yeah.
Might be a little bit warm on the bus, but it'll be okay.
10:15 tomorrow, if you're interested. Meet us by the media center.
$20 a ticket.
Cool.
And a seat fee.
And we
can't
get a
afford
yellow
it.
bus ride.
Tour,
Okay, sure.
tour of the stars and more.
I paid 50 last.
Bill will pick you up at your house.
So if you'd like them to travel by your house to say hi, we can do that as well. Part of this hour tour.
Are you going?
I think I'm gonna try to go on the yellow bus. I mean, who wouldn't want to ride on the yellow bus
Exactly.
and see the district? So actually, it'd be pretty good.
I wouldn't want to ride it.
I'm going, I am going this year. I'm
Oh,
going
Well, you
with
said you
Jeanette.
would go with me,
I
Chris.
did, didn't I?
You did, so that's on video
stuck
right
with
now.
I think I'm washing my hair.
And mine too.
So we're getting excited, getting ready, everything ready for all of our teachers and staff to come back. And students. Yes.
Okay, anything else on your end? All right, thanks.
Big agenda, long list
Oh,
this
yes,
time.
except for that.
Yeah, there'll be a
Lots
robust
going on the
personnel
agenda.
section on the agenda. As is every August.
Finish up?
Yeah.
Okay, so item 2 is a review of a proposed 5-year forecast resolution. That is an attachment that I provided you. It it's red across the top of it. This is really circulating around a lot of school districts in the state of Ohio. And the recommendation is to adopt the attached resolution requiring the treasurer CFO to continue preparing a 5-year forecast in addition to the state mandated 3-year forecast. To me, it's just too short of a look. We need to look beyond 3 years, and we all know that the further out you get, the less reliable that data is, because we're forecasting revenue, we're forecasting expenditures, and you can't always hit that 100% for sure. But it still is a nice guardrail moving forward. But for the state, and we'll cover the state budget bill highlights, but it is now a 3-year forecast. But I'm proposing that the board pass a resolution to still produce a 5-year
This
forecast.
is a Neola policy.
It is a Neola policy, yes.
Can I ask a question on the state? We don't use the state software, I get it, but we use that format, right? That comes from the software company, whatever that we use.
K-12.
Yeah, that's 5. Are they reducing it to 3 with a 5-year option so that you can still do 5, but then just submit 3? Like, how are they gonna work that?
I'm Zooming with them today
Okay.
at 2 o'clock. What I'm going to ask, and I believe K-12 is very supportive of this and backing this same resolution, and that we'd still produce a format of a 3-year, a 5-year, but have a 3-year version that we send to the state. So
Because that's
I-
helpful. I mean, how are you supposed to know what your cash projection is
Yeah.
for levy purposes or whatever?
Right,
financing?
and so, it'll look, again, I need to hear K-12, hear what they have to say, but what they have to say still, they work for us.
Right.
So I want to see a 5-year forecast that looks like you've always seen and used to digesting, and then just a shortened version to send to Columbus.
Okay, that works.
So this is a resolution, we put this on the finance and audit section, and then we would actually have the policy adopted through the policy committee.
Right.
That Neola would write.
It's gonna be a 2-part.
Yes.
Yeah, 'cause
So
it takes-
let me make sure I understand. You want a resolution.
There will be a
to say, hey,
resolution
we're
in
gonna
August that says
consider
we
this
are gonna do a
like
5-year forecast, and then we will put the policy on.
Yeah, right.
Contain the fact.
Right,
So-
yeah, it takes 2 reads, right?
So
Or
then
one
we
read,
put the
one
pol-
read,
yes.
then a approval.
So we'd have first read,
We can,
I mean, we
I
could
don't
do
know, if
first
we- is
read,
this,
but
this reads as a resolution and not as a policy. So I think this would be, the board would adopt this, and then we would actually we can have the policy that
Yeah.
incorporates with it as to.
Yeah, but for right now, I would assume then you would just proceed as doing the 5. and
As
then
doing the
policy
5,
just
yes.
comes in to confirm.
Yeah. We would look to whatever policies we have to adjust them or keep them consistent.
do they have current policy that we could put on the agenda, like
I
for
will-
first
I will
read?
check.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yes.
Neola does.
Move the process
Yeah.
along?
This,
I
yeah,
will check.
this came from K-12 actually, but it is in collaboration with Neola.
Okay.
And I think it tells you what the Neola potential policy.
The numbers are there, I'll see what the, if the
I mean, if
actual
they have it,
language
we
is
could
there.
adapt this and still put the
We can
policy.
put it on the first read as well.
Yeah.
Yep.
That'd be probably smart.
So that'll be on next week's.
It'll be on next, yeah.
Okay.
So moving forward, there's a lot of them. So I'm going to walk you through the PowerPoint where you'll see them. You also have it more in a memo form as an attachment, what I'm covering. So you really basically have it in two formats, and as a memorandum and then as a PowerPoint. But some significant changes, and I'm sure that Gary has presented some of these, but this is the final summary. So I went to Columbus last Monday. These are after the governor's override, or the governor's vetoes, and then it came back to the legislators. There were 2 overrides of his vetoes, some stayed. So this is, in summary, what we know now. I will predicate that the legislature has 1 year to still go back and veto something of his, or potentially add something, but as of right now, this is the best information that we have. And I believe it'll, by and large, stay the way it is written, at least for the foreseeable future. So, under student transportation, there's a $10 million grant that's available for bus upgrades, safety upgrades. There is a formation of a work group. It allows community schools to put together transportation consortiums. The big one that applies to us on a day-to-day perspective, typically when a school district would call a snow day, then the private schools and charter schools who rely on us for bus transportation would follow suit. Now, I believe on a snow day, most of them will, probably all of them will. But if there happens to be like a professional development day for us, but it's not a professional development day for those private schools, then what this bill says is we have to run transportation for them.
That's
So-
been our past
Yeah,
plan.
that's always done.
Yeah, okay, good. That's not what been state law.
Right.
But if that's been past practice, that's an easy one, good. State Board of Education is changing considerably. Membership reduced to 5 governor-appointed members, and they have to represent rural, suburban, and urban, and community and private schools. And elected officials abolished, the ones that we have elected, when their term's up, they will no longer serve the State Board of Education unless they're appointed. Under state teachers' retirement system, again, a lot more governmental control over STRS. The contributing members will be reduced from 5 to 2, retired members reduced from 2 to 1, and new members added are a chancellor, a designee, a treasurer investment designee, new investment experts appointed by the House Speaker and Senate President. So both sides of the legislative branches will have say in STRS. School board policies, mandatory district-wide cell phone bans by January 1, 2026. That ban means they can't be used at lunch, they can't be used in between periods. So there's a lot of different ways to go about that, but we'll have to propose a policy that bans cell phones in the school to be in compliance.
We have one from Neola that we are running through. We'll run it through policy. We are moving forward with student handbooks, and they'll be in the Friday. They will be on the agenda. We're hoping to get them on the Friday packet as well. They'll be in the agenda for review, to which includes that, to where cell phones are no longer permitted, must be out of sight. The law does state that they have to be accessible in emergency situations, so we are working through how that looks. We do have it where they're supposed to be off and out of sight during the instructional day.
I know you have some limitations now. How is all of that working out?
So as students get older, it becomes a little bit more of a challenge. And I think what we're seeing is both student, they are becoming more of an addiction, so we are working really hard to change behaviors. And we know as a team, we actually had our administrative retreat the other day, and we talked a lot about how we're going to enforce it, how we're going to work with teachers collaboratively to make sure that we go through and do it. There is some permissions to this law for use of cell phones in school. There are some things that cell phones do better than Chromebooks. We give every student a Chromebook, but a Chromebook just isn't a good camera. So for our art students is the best example. Our art students need to take a picture of a portfolio to save in their document. A cell phone takes an easier picture, quicker, saves it to their Google Drive. It is a much more affordable solution than buying web-based cameras, all of that. So,
But that's a monitored situation.
that's a monitored situation that we will permit. It is but other than that, they're expected to be off and out of sight, whether in their locker, left in their car, not on present in a book bag, or in a purse. It also states the things that there's no expectation of privacy of cell phones while they're here, as well as it states that we have no responsibility for any damage incurred to a student who chooses to bring a cell phone on property.
Does it include lunch?
It does.
Like
This
call
ban
time,
does.
because I didn't
this-
see that in what you sent on Friday.
So this does include lunch. So this will include instructional day from when they walk in the first bell to the end of the day. After school activities, they're still permitted. And that's typically what we hear parents say that they need cell phones for, as their students will then say, hey, I need to be picked up, or I'm going here or there, or that sort of thing.
There's a medical exemption as well.
Absolutely.
You know, if you have diabetes, for example, you can test your sugar or somehow with a cell phone. somehow.
There's a physician's note, so if they get a note from a physician that says they need their cell phone, we have to permit it. Looking forward to seeing what those have to say.
Just have to go down that path and see what
We
becomes
will
of it.
conquer that path when we get to it. The other permission we would allow it for is, and we've been very successful with, is translation. So our ELL students use it frequently for, or our foreign exchange students for translation. So they'll use the cell phone stuff to translate into their native language.
So how will that work?
We will permit it for that, and we will let those teachers know who those students are.
Again, a monitoring situation.
Again, we will monitor it. Absolutely.
Okay.
AI use policy will be required by July 1st, 2026. There'll be a model policy available to us in December. Cyber security protocols must align with best practices, and I'm sure that that's
We are.
well on its
Mr. Reynolds
way.
already said that.
Religious instruction time must allow at least one period per week. Limit 2 periods for elementary. Limit 2 periods per week for K-8. 2 high school credits per week. Students may bring external materials to school that supports their religious studies. The KRA, the Kindergarten Readiness Assessment, will be removed from the state report cards, and ODE will no longer collect that data. Moving on, assessments and literacy initiatives, K-3 diagnostic must align with science of reading. So I'm sure curriculum is on that and has been, but that's a big buzzword out in public education right now, science of reading. And educator training is required every 5 years, probably do it more often than that, but that's what's required. High dosage tutoring can be during regular instructional time now. And very interesting, the changes in advancement of elementary all the way to high school students as it relates to math. I'm not sure, I wouldn't want to be the curriculum person trying to figure this all out and the principles, but it advances kids automatically based on its state test score. Moving on to assessments and literacy initiatives, there's new employment data reporting that we have to give to ODE, and the superintendent has gleaned more control over teacher placements. Some teacher contracts are pretty prohibitive, others are not, but now seniority will not be the basis for teacher assignments, and the superintendent can move essentially a teacher to wherever they need to move them to, and it supersedes any negotiated agreements. advanced standing and math programs, the advanced standing is very interesting. So, again, a curriculum challenge here for the curriculum department, but if you have weighted scales, for example, you're going to have to apply them to Auburn career programs.
I didn't realize that, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's going to be another challenge as we kind of move forward. How do you do that? And then the only way you cannot advance a student in these math programs is if the parents opt out.
That goes into effect for this year, Steve? The
Yes.
end of- So by the end of, so at the beginning of next school year,
Yeah. Will you be retired?
Which does provide curricular challenges. If you have an 8th grade who scores advanced, the next course is algebra. And algebra is a required course of graduation. Well, the way that this reads, you have to have 2 grade levels ahead, so you're supposed to skip algebra, but you can't skip algebra because you have to take the test to graduate. So
Yeah.
there are
There's
some
gonna be
challenges
some
that
more,
are there that probably are unintended. So I would expect this is one that they would come back and fix to adjust.
The RESA is eliminated, that's the resident educator program, and the summative assessment has been removed, and teacher evaluations may substitute in a residency program. So again, it varies from district to district how much they invest in that RESA program, so that could be a change here, or may not, I'm not familiar enough to know. Districts may employ staff or contract out and run online schools now.
Could you expand on that a little bit?
So, if we wanted to create our own online school, and the primary reason for that would be meet the needs of our students, but secondly, if we're running our own online school, we maintain the state share of that student versus dollars, and they count on our ADM versus the student no longer counting on our ADM and we losing state share.
Because they're attending somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
Some districts did that during COVID. Mentor did that.
Several school districts did that.
Were they successful in any way?
Well, in previous district, I would say that the teachers would say no, overall, it was not for most kids, but some kids it is. There are some kids that just do better in the online environment. Most don't, in my opinion, and what I've seen, but there are some kids that just don't do well in brick and mortar. And so for those kids, yeah, I would say yes. So it's really kind of,
Gives them more of a structured environment outside of the regular environment.
well, yes, more so, not as structured as you would be in coming into school for sure, but there's still a structure to a good online program. So, yeah, I would say that's true. Financial literacy requirements must meet or exceed state standards and model curriculum, and minimum equivalent is 1/2 a unit or 60 hours of instruction. So that's, you typically see that in the high school, but data reporting requirements, ODU must report vacancies by type, subject, and geography, and it's basically mounting from or coming from an argument that school districts are making that there's a teacher shortage and some legislators that believe there is not. So that's what this is really about. We have to report substitutes used, reason for vacancies, and filling those positions. We have to be able to account for all of those things. Attendance and driver education must report vacancies. Okay, we have to provide that as well. Report cards and graduation requirements, CLEP scores now can count towards diploma seals and college readiness. And there are some approved programs that could be an exemption to the financial literacy course. Community schools and scholarships, sponsor evaluations reduced, but data still required. High-performing community schools get clarified access to district property. So House Bill 110, which is not part of this, says that if you have a school building that is 60% or below occupancy, you could be potentially forced out of that building. And that building used to be required to be sold at building value. It's been very much narrowed, so it's not building value at first. It is offered to a charter school, private school, with the verbiage that it must have an educational use. So you've taken your potential buyers and very much narrowed that field of who you could sell that building to, which obviously reduces the value, the assessed value of that facility. So in other words, you can lose buildings a lot more easily than we could have before. Again, it impacts the urbans more than suburbans, but can impact suburbans too. Adult and career technical education. Career tech is required for grades 7 through 8 and beginning in 26-27. And career exploration funds cut from $10 per student to $3 per student. So more of a requirement, less money to do it. Financial reporting and tax policy. Forecasts now cover 3 years. So not this year, but next year, fiscal year 27, we'll have to have our 5-year forecast done by August 31st. But this year, and only this year, it's due October 15th. That's important because it'll allow us to finish our final appropriations, board approve of final appropriations. Pretty tough to do a forecast when the board hasn't approved the budget. So, but in this case, we'll be okay. It's just a tight time crunch. But moving into next summer, we're going to have to close the books. That means strict adherence to, you can't process a purchase order past a hard deadline, which is really hard for administrators to adjust to, even superintendents. But we'll need that because we're going to need to close the books so that we can do you'll have to approve that final budget, you know, and then we flip right around and have to, almost on its heels, we'll have to approve the appropriations for the next fiscal year, and then turn right around and take care of the 5-year forecast. So the treasurer's office is going to be mad crazy from June to August. That's going to be our probably our busiest time of the year, I would think.
And then we'll just do appropriation adjustments immediately following.
Yeah, we just got to go. There's not a lot of time to study it. It's going to be.
Typically, we have an early August board meeting. We're going to probably have a second board meeting just because of
We may have to.
the timeline. 'Cause we do the early August to get people on before the start of school to make sure to do routes and all that stuff, and then you do the later August.
Yeah, you know, typically I like to run 2 payrolls to ensure that, yeah, we've hit the personnel correctly, but we're not gonna have that time. We'll be lucky to get 1 payroll in.
And we
Lucky,
certainly won't have our grant funding available.
not in
Anything like this
totality.
year,
Right, I mean-
we just got it last night, part of it.
Right, I mean, you don't even hit the button until.
So it's gonna be very difficult to hit, these timelines are not, were not developed or implemented by people who understand how schools function. I mean, that's just the bottom line. So it also, there is a limit to administrative costs at 15%. So I went and researched what is our current administrative cost, and we're at 7.4% right now. So we're nowhere near exceeding the administrative limits. And I got that from the CUP report, by the way. So the repeal of school district income tax on estates effective 2026, and stricter rules on property tax complaints and filings. And this is going to make it a little harder for us to challenge property tax changes. So, you know, that's just going to be a very difficult process. Financial reporting and tax policies, so we have to approve, we have to do that approval. If we wanted to move inside millage, most places don't, as you may or may not be aware, inside millage is the only millage that is not impacted by House Bill 920. So it does grow, although that may or may not change. The legislature is looking at that very closely. But there is a provision in law, was a provision in law, well, there still is a provision in law that we could take some or all of our inside millage and move it. I wouldn't recommend it, but you can. But what this is saying is that they're creating steps and processes that we're going to have to go through to get approval beyond just the voice of the school board.
But that's only for the purposes of loan payment, right?
Well,
If I remember correctly?
You could move inside millage into general fund if you wanted to. There are some things you could do, but yes, primarily
It's got
that.
purposes, like you're only allowed to do it for certain reasons.
That's right, and it's mostly to fund a loan. It would be potentially
Debt
construction.
service.
There are some reasons to move it, but I've never moved it in my career. I've never seen it moved in my career, and I would not.
I think Berkshire
recommend
tried to
moving
move it last
Oh,
year.
we tried to do it.
Berkshire tried to move a mill
Yeah.
into PI, and then the county actually rejected it.
Yeah,
Yeah, we
yeah.
tried to move it for, quote, debt service on
Yeah.
solvency assistance, because they
Yeah,
call it loans.
because they use their PI
Well,
funds.
because they call
to-
it loans, but then do you
Yeah.
want to commit?
And once you move it out of inside millage, now it is impacted by House Bill 920. So you're cutting your revenue stream in the future by doing so. So I would not recommend that. County budget commissions, approval required before adjusting that millage, as we just said. And then they have, all taxing authorities must submit tax budgets with comparative statements. So again, that's something we'll handle internally in our office. And so that is the overall view of I think the major highlights of some of the changes. For the finance world, it's just significant changes in deadlines, which matter a lot. So we will hit them, but it is a challenge. And speaking of a challenge, we have and I'll turn it over to Mike because he knows far better than I do, but one thing I do know, we have two individuals that have worked over 40 years in our department, so 80 years of knowledge, institutional knowledge, combined with just doing the job knowledge, makes me incredibly nervous. And one will retire at the end of August, correct?
Couple weeks.
Yeah. So what we would like to do is get a posting out to fill this position. We believe internally it'll be filled, the actual position that we would go outside for is most likely going to be a payroll.
Could be a payroll, there might be some shifting
Internally.
around within the department for that.
But the first step is to post an opening. So,
The one person that's leaving was part-time,
Correct.
correct?
Correct.
She was. We also have another person who has retired, was exempt, and she is taking disability, and we have not replaced that position as well, in the finance office. That
So
was
how
more of
many,
the
how many will we
administrative
have
assistant.
left without a replacement? 4?
Without a replacement?
Right, I'm just asking, like, we
Yeah.
had 6, right?
Correct, there would be 2 payroll and then 2 accounting right now as if we didn't do anything with, and it's Sally's position.
Right.
And I'm not sure where Angie's at in the grand scheme of things with, her being the second one being, with the 40
Right, and
plus
those,
years.
they've been here forever.
So what I'd like to do is get somebody in now, or as soon as we can, and cross-train them and get ready for, we should have a succession plan for our staff.
So
and
if we only replace that with one person, that means we're gonna need somebody who does all that grant. That's what Angie does, was all the grant work.
I've been doing a lot of that piece right now, but like I said, that's why we're looking at potentially doing some shifting of
Yeah, it would be
who's what.
helpful to get somebody in prior to
And
her
it's, yeah,
departure.
it's trying to get that along with, obviously, if it is somebody that moves within payroll over, we would need that person also to be able to kind of work with whomever might be coming in to take that position, so.
We need a lot of
Yeah,
cross-training.
you know, and I don't know that the public understands like how complicated it is to hire somebody in finance into a school district because our software is so wonky and antiquated. I'm putting it
That's the
lightly,
official
I mean,
word,
right, I
wonky.
mean,
I
Could be
like
the
that.
technical one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like
it's not
wonky.
like running normal payroll, it's just not.
No, and the last time we went through the payroll hiring piece, I think we did at least 2 rounds to be able to even find somebody, and luckily enough, we did land more, who's been doing a
Right,
great
I
job.
mean, it's nice to have
But-
somebody who comes in with payroll knowledge overall, period, but then just trying to
Yeah.
get them up to speed
Well, and
on
it's very,
state software is really complicated.
depending on the payroll department too, it's very challenging, because classified payroll isn't always
Different,
consistent
right.
because of overtime and all the other cross-training and cross rates, and you know, we have a bus driver who's doing all other things as well, and so it is a significant challenge for them
So what's your
there.
timing on all this?
Well, I would just like to know, you know, I don't want to post a position that doesn't have board support, obviously. So I'd like to get a informal go ahead, because you're not going to vote on it until the person comes before you. But I would like to get it posted as
So
soon
what
as
would
we
we
can.
post? Finance and
Well, we
then
would
somebody
post our
from,
current
I mean,
open.
like, and then if somebody from payroll wants to move into that position, then we
Flip
would
it.
just then flip
Then we would
it,
repost.
post
Yeah.
for payroll.
Yeah, and we're guessing that's going to happen. So that's going to delay us a little bit,
Well,
you know. So
So
it's
what-
probably going to end up being 2 postings.
So what's the net change in personnel overall?
Potentially a half a person, but like I said,
We'd
right
be-
now Sally's part-time, but she's also probably a little bit further on the pay side of
Mhm.
things versus somebody that we would bring in.
As we currently stand, we would be plus a half, but overall, it's actually down a half still because we reduced the
Correct.
administrative assistant to the treasurer and assistant treasurer.
We're currently down 1.5 people.
We probably should have some discussions as to what we do about that as well,
Yeah.
with the streamlining of our school.
Yeah, that's, from my opinion, yeah, go ahead and do what you need to do. I don't know how you feel.
Yeah,
I don't really want to do 5 months of classified payroll again.
No, I
why?
Yeah.
You might.
That took 12, off my life.
12 years off your life.
do we post the first one internally, because knowing that
It's easier to do it that way, so you're
we
not.
post the first one internally, and then we
So
just
much.
prepare the payroll posting
Yes.
and get that ready to go.
I think that's wise.
And then just say to the person who we are filling with, you haven't, until we find your replacement, you're still in payroll.
That's-
You start
We
seeing-
have to do payroll.
Your start date comes after payroll.
Yeah, yes, for sure. Nothing gets people more upset than
Right.
Yeah.
their kid or their paycheck.
Yeah,
Those are the
absolutely.
2 drivers, I think.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So thank you, I appreciate that. And then some questions were submitted to me, and so I can't say that I have the full answers for every question. Some of them require more research, but we did our best to at least answer some of them. So, you know, there's a lot of questions surrounding financing of our facility work. My plan is to work with our finance department and our admin to kind of lay that out to get a really good handle on it. I would be lying if I said I have a great handle on it right now, I don't. But what we have right now, but I wanted to know, you know, what we're producing about $2.7 million a year. I think everyone's aware of that. That comes in. We've received one payment of about $500,000 has come in. We have a balance of $319,405 in the PI fund right now. We'll get an additional 1.35 million or thereabouts in February or March, but I want to get a real handle on, with these PI funds coming in versus what's encumbered due to TANs or COPS, what are we operationally left with? So I'll put that data together, but I don't have that data right now.
I kind of didn't expect you to, I just put
He
it.
hasn't had a chance to talk with
But we have, you know, we know it's something we need to take a hard look at too. And then another question was the status and scope of financial review work being done by the consultant out of Texas. That's in progress. I think you sent some documents just the other day.
Yeah, I've been in communication sending, there was quite a bit of info. It was 6 years of, was a lot of information, plus trying to make sure it's what he's looking for.
Do we feel that that is going to provide us with anything useful, considering that the state auditor's office already comes in and does the audit and finds nothing, so to speak, of
Yeah, I'm
that we
not-
need to do? I mean, like, I'm not exactly sure of what the purpose behind that was, you know, considering that I don't know that
Yeah, I mean, some of the.
Dr. Thompson needs all of that.
I mean, he's asked for like the audits, but he's also asked for financial detail of stuff, so like I sent him, it's 6 years worth of transactions, and each year it's around 50,000 lines.
Well, I get it. I guess I'm
I'm not quite
asking,
sure what we're gonna get.
I don't know what the purpose of that whole contract was. Again, I continue to say, I don't know what we needed that for. What are they expecting to find? What are they expecting to help you with that you don't already, are not already able to glean from the information that we provide? Because let's face it, you're already experienced in school districts.
I think
so-
this is more of an insurance thing, just to close out the old and open the new, so everybody is on the same page going forward, that everything has been good in the past, now everything going forward, there shouldn't be any issues.
Well, again, I'm
Nothing,
not-
nothing, not that we're expecting anything, it's just essentially insurance.
I don't know. Again,
And
I'm
it's
going to say, I'm not exactly sure
Proper business practice.
what the purpose of it was.
Proper
We have the
business
state
practice.
audit that closes out our books anyway, and
Right.
I don't feel it was necessary, so if we're gonna glean any helpful information, what is it that we are hoping to get from it, from the finance department and the treasurer's seat? Like, are you going to ask them, gee, what am I gonna get out of this, and what will you find helpful? I mean, we're spending money.
Well, from my perspective, not knowing a lot about the specificity of what he's doing per se, but I look forward to when he's completed, having a conversation with him. What did he see? Did he see anything that would say, you know, we could improve in a certain area? So again, I'm not exactly sure what he's auditing, but another set of eyes won't hurt.
Right.
So, you know, I hope to definitely get something out of it.
Yeah, hopefully we'll find something useful.
And
But I mean,
if the
we
answer
feel-
is things are wonderful and keep trucking on, then that's what we'll do.
I mean, if we feel a need to have a performance audit at some point in time, I mean, we can ask for that. So,
And a performance audit, of course, being very
Completely
different than the regular state audit.
right, so.
The general fund balance right now in fiscal year '26 balance is $20,555,602. Policy requires 3 months of unencumbered cash carryover at all times. We're hitting that for now. So from a financial perspective, it looks like to me, if you drop down to current 25-26 staffing additions and what is added permanently to our general fund budget, well, the overall, there's significant reductions. We're somewhere over a little over $1 million. I need to run payroll a couple of times and be able to definitely tell you what that number is. But
We gave some estimates, and all of these kind of came through attrition.
yeah,
So we gave some estimates as to where we're at. We don't necessarily know what the payroll kind of wants to see where we're at, but we are estimating over $1 million in savings.
and you can see the numbers that we attach to each area. They're not going to be to the penny, but they're pretty doggone close. But we'll be able to get them to the penny after a couple of payrolls. But the important messaging from that is that we're reducing expenditures. Yes, we're in deficit spending, and deficit spending is impossible to avoid in public education. if you understand public education. Due to House Bill 920, our revenue is frozen in perpetuity. So outside of a new levy or increasing student enrollment are about the only two ways. Grants, I guess, is another way. There are some other avenues, but generally speaking, those are your two avenues to increase revenue. So I don't care how fiscally conservative any school district is, expenditures will increase, just like they do in your home. So while revenue is flat, eventually you're going to cross that axis. And that's what we call boom and bust cycles. You pass a levy, it's a boom, you have more money than you actually need, and then that axis will cross and you start eating into your reserves essentially, and you stretch it out as long as you can. In Ohio, the average district's on the ballot for new money every 4.5 years. So Riverside is beating that hands down. So coming in as a new treasurer and looking at the financial picture, far better than most districts. Paynesville just ran an article just the other day, and they're in significant cut mode. The more urban districts or the districts higher in poverty because of DPIA funds have been significantly reduced. They're losing dollars where districts like ours that have a much lower poverty rate aren't seeing those reductions that those more urban schools, more challenged schools, more high poverty rate districts are seeing. So I think that's the key difference while they're losing funding and while they're in the position that they're in, and why this coupled with, quite frankly, just good financial stewardship here in the district from the administration, from the board, has put ourselves in a position where we're solid. No matter what we do, we're going to be back on the ballot at some point. That's just the way Ohio funds its public schools, at least for now. We'll see what happens. And we have a heavy reliance on property tax. That is the system. There are some other options, and we can talk about those at another day. But by and large, the vast majority of our funds come from our local property owners or in businesses. The next question was documentation yet provided for LLB relating to the communications plan. We're investigating that right now, pulling that data, pulling those invoices, et cetera, and we'll have all that together. And then what's the 5-year forecast will show, considering it is now due before the final appropriations are even approved. So again, that we have that exemption for this year. So the fiscal year 26 5-year forecast is due October 15th and final appropriations by September 30th. So we are razor thin cutting it, but not as razor thin as next year. But we got a little bit of time left, so I'm thankful for that. And that concludes all the reporting that I have. Excuse me, there was a question about bus undercoating. I gave you a printout of some basic research that I did in terms of is it effective, does it help? I don't think there's any question that undercoating the buses will help preserve the buses. But in terms of 5-year forecasting, I mentioned in this document that I'd like to do at least a 3-year study on it. So let's see before we change our bus fleet rotations, et cetera, let's see what this is actually going to do in practice. Because there's more reasons than undercoating for buses to be taken offline, but that is a big one. Rust is a huge problem. State Highway Patrol, as you know, inspects those buses, and the State Highway Patrol shuts those buses down, and oftentimes it is rusting of the underbody and the body of the bus that creates that. But as a fiscal agent, I want to see some evidence to show me, you know, if we can slow our rotation down, and if we can, then we'll do that, and that'll be a nice return to the general fund. I'm hoping that can happen, but I think it would be difficult to forecast that at this stage. Just
Yeah, I
don't
was
have
just
enough
curious
data.
if there was any data on like what the process, how much it prolongs the life of a bus, really, because it's been touted out there that it'll prolong it to 20 years. I don't know that that's absolutely a fair assessment, like, 'cause when the general rule is it's 12 years. I mean, I would think it would be somewhere maybe in between, but closer to 12 than 20. There's just no data, and I'm not.
We don't have, we have preliminary data after a year. Now granted, we did have a harsh winter, so we'll get better data than we would in a typical year, because I think we had a lot more ice and snow.
But you won't know for 12
So-
years. Do you know what I mean? If we're relying on our own data, I'm just curious if there's any data out there that
I've
says,
not-
hey, it will prolong it by this many years.
Well, I think the whole issue with that was the Canadian military did a study with this product.
But we
and-
haven't seen that data.
I did ask for the study, and I did not see the
Right,
specific
so-
study. I saw some data from the study, but I didn't actually see, I asked for the research study itself.
Well, again, at least in my preliminary research, I don't think there's any question that it's going to be beneficial.
Right.
To what degree, I can't say that, but I think it's going to be beneficial. And knowing that they can come on site, we're at somewhere around 20 grand a year to do all our buses.
This year was very smooth. They came on site, they went off the back. We used a different, same product, but a different company out of Akron. They did ours, and they cleaned up, and it was, according to everybody, it went through great. It was a very good process.
So you know, I guess I have a foot in two positions on this. On one hand, I think we should do it at that expenditure for sure. Not ready to forecast anything yet. I'd like to see at least some preliminary feedback from our bus mechanics, from our leader of our bus department, saying, hey, this is seemingly making a difference. And then if it is, then let's peel back a bus or two, go a little longer. And if we keep seeing, we've been doing this now for X number of years, we're hitting year 5 and they're still looking great. Well, let's peel another couple off. And every time you peel a couple off, you know, $300,000 back in the general fund. So that's
I'm
powerful.
I'm not a fan of putting out there into the public that we're gonna prolong the life of our buses to 20 years when we don't have data to back that up. I'm not averse to saying it will prolong the life of our bus, but we haven't determined how long and how that affects our PI forecast, but we have people out there saying it's gonna do X, when I don't think we can
Well,
transparently say that with accuracy, and so.
If we can, you know, I'd like to see the research study too, and if it says 20 years, I would, and there's evidence to support that, I'm personally not opposed to being able to say that and make a prediction on if this comes to fruition, this is what we could potentially save. But I want a little bit more evidence of our own processes internally in driving in Riverside, driving in Leroy, driving in, you know, Painesville Township, everywhere that we go. I want to see what that's going to do monetarily and then forecast it.
But the amount spent per bus for this per year is really negligible
It's negligible.
compared to the value of the bus.
If we undercoat these buses for the next 5 years, and we can save the purchase of 5 buses over that time period, it's money well spent. So I don't think there's any, I would most definitely say we should allocate funds to do this. But exactly how much it will save, not really ready to say that. That's.
Because every application is unique. You know,
I
every district is
think the
different.
other thing, and Dr. Thompson hit on it, is really, now that we've gone a full year and we haven't had the opportunity to sit down with the mechanics and, you know,
See, what are they seeing?
to see and see what, not only what are they seeing, but also is the undercoating, you know, helping them in terms of maintenance, or is it actually a deterrent, and do they have to do another step like scrape it off to then do? So I think that's where the conversation, we have not had that conversation yet, to be completely honest. They're getting
It's
the buses
early
ready
yet.
for the
It's
school.
early.
And so I think that's the next step to all of this is, you know, now that we've run it again, we know where we're at, our fleet's ready to go, we can start to have some of those conversations as well. What are you seeing? There are other reasons why buses go offline, and we all know that, but are we seeing some of this, especially with our newer buses that we hit from go? You know, I think it's a, again, we're into it, let's kind of take some time to observe and monitor, and we can get some better kind of statements from there.
I agree 100%. And the bus mechanics, you know, those veteran mechanics and our transportation supervisor, they know what a bus looks like after year 5. They know approximately what it should look like. And if it doesn't look like that,
Yeah.
great, you know. So again, well, I think we've covered that topic pretty clearly. Are there any other questions that Mallory?
Last up is agenda review, just to let you know
Oh, I'm
what's on
sorry.
what's on the agenda. August is a pretty big agenda because we're moving through. We did finally get our grants, so grant acceptance will be on there. They're actually coming through this morning. They're popping up in my email. So we'll have all of those numbers on there.
Just along those lines, they also did a little bit of a flip, and I think are going back to the old system for,
Because it was such a
Because
disaster.
the new system's
for
a
the new
disaster. So
system.
they're hybriding system. It's gonna be. a
Did you
nightmare.
use the new system?
We tried.
Mike tried to,
Did you have to?
and I was starting
I
to,
did.
like, they were trying to include me, you know, to take over some of
Right.
those responsibilities of Chuck's. And then we got an email, was it early this week or end of last week? I was like, does this mean nothing new is happening? And Mike was like, yeah, no, I think we're going back to the old system, so
yeah, we had
I get to
do
stay in the
everything
old
in there, and
system.
then they
Oh,
just
you
are
did
out.
everything in the new system and now you have to do
No,
all
it's,
in the old?
the new system is, it's fine. So we're
So
working
they're
through what that.
piloting it
Yeah.
again.
That's what you get for following the rules, Mike
Right.
Patrizi.
Yeah.
We're working through another one. Also on there is a purchase order for Lamuth cafeteria furniture. This is a combination between a donation from AMSCO for their portion of it, as well as coming out of federal funds from Michelle Gifford. So they are going to make an order and replace the cafeteria furniture at Lamuth, updated along the way. Really exciting about that.
What would our net contribution be?
Ours is nothing.
Nothing.
So it's from our federal funds, food service funds, as well as AMSCO, with a significant donation that they raised
Ew, how much did they
last
donate?
year. They
Do
haven't
we
given
know
us a
yet?
final
They
number.
haven't given us a number, I wrote around 15.
It's around 15.
Thousand.
Yeah, pretty significant.
Okay, I'd like to wrap it up with just a couple of comments here.
I wasn't done with the.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Sorry, I got
Go
more. PSI nursing is on there as well. That's our annual nursing services contract. We'll have a correction to somebody ESC, as well as there will be a contract from READ. We're working on getting a contract from READ for services for a student placed out of district, as well. So that's in the finance section of the agenda. Now,
All set? Okay.
all set.
I got this article the other day. It's a fairly new article. It's from the Walmart Human Resources Executive, and it states that no one wants to hire this type of person. And I think this goes across all categories. So I'll just kind of get some excerpts out of this. It says, having certain positive qualities can enhance your career prospects, according to Donna Morris, Executive Vice President and Chief Human Resources Officer at Walmart. Morris pointed out that one warning sign indicating a person's difficulty in advancing in the workplace is when somebody behaves like a Debbie Downer. She emphasized that no one wants to hire such individuals who bring a negative atmosphere with their constant complaints and pessimism. Morris explained that being a Debbie Downer can make it challenging for individuals to establish the necessary networking for advancement or gain the trust of superiors and managers in new initiatives. She stated that individuals who are constantly negative and focus on problems rather than solutions are not valued in the workplace. I like those who bring up problems and offer solutions, Morris highlighted. While Morris suggests avoiding the Debbie Downer attitude, she also cautions against adopting a toxic optimism approach, where individuals pretend everything is fine, even in challenging situations. It is unrealistic to always maintain a happy demeanor. She values employees who deliver expected results on time, emphasizing that early and more deliveries are better than late and fewer ones. Another positive trait she praises is being open to opportunities and taking on additional responsibilities voluntarily. Effective employees also present solutions along with identifying problems, or seek to help promptly instead of waiting for issues to escalate. So, this, in all of our people, we have to understand that we need to work together and move forward. So, that's it. So, with that being said, and the timeliness of the employee climate survey that we got some results of, I'd like to have a copy of that survey, unedited, broken down by buildings, so we can review that. We are a larger employer with many different departments, all contributing to the core mission of graduating students with competency and skills to function in life. It is paramount that all are on board and pulling in the same direction to reach this goal. We will review this climate survey, which has revealed there are many areas of dissatisfaction with the status quo. One board member pointed out via an email to other board members some negative responses regarding the board, but failed to acknowledge core issues of dissatisfaction in the survey that affect everyday operation of the mission, which is student service. We will address the concerns presented in the survey to find solutions. This will take time and patience on everyone's part, and we will not please everyone. But a positive-minded workforce will be seen by the student body as welcoming, and that we are here for their benefit if they put forth the effort. The Debbie Downer syndrome is destructive in an organization. Help us find solutions. Once the board members have had a chance to review this survey, a work session will be scheduled with the appropriate personnel to move forward with the next step. So we're going to try to address the issues in that climate survey and make it a better environment here for everyone. So with that, I guess we're done for the day. Thank you.